Sometimes you will be asked to analyze a writer or speaker's use of rhetoric, also known as rhetorical strategies or devices, or even persuasive techniques. Or you may be asked to use some of these devices in your own writing or speaking. I will explain what we mean by rhetorical devices, and we will look at just 7 of the most common strategies writers or speakers use. First, what exactly are rhetorical devices? Rhetoric is a technique of using language effectively and persuasively in spoken or written form. So, a rhetorical device is a technique that an author or speaker uses with the goal of persuading the reader or listener to consider a topic from a different perspective, take the writer or reader's position, or even to take action. There are hundreds of rhetorical devices, but we're going to focus on the most common. First, a rhetorical question. A rhetorical question is a question that is not answered by the writer or speaker because its answer is obvious or obviously desired. It is asked to make a point. For example, as the cartoon depicts, instead of saying, "Don't vote for McGregor, he does not keep his promises," a person might use a rhetorical question and say, "McGregor, why would you want to vote for somebody who does not keep his promises?" The question does not need to be answered specifically. Nobody would want to vote for someone who does not keep his promises. That's the point of the rhetorical question. Next, we have allusions. An allusion is a brief or indirect reference to a person, place, thing, or idea of historical, cultural, literal, or political significance. And if you understand the allusion, you understand the point. For example, there are biblical allusions. Here's an example. Plan ahead, it wasn't raining when Noah built the ark. If you know the story of Noah and his ark from the Bible, you understand the point the writer is trying to make. How bad it would be to be caught in a downpour without an umbrella. Another type of allusion you might come across is a mythological or literary allusion. Here's one. He was good at business, but his Achilles heel was gambling, so he lost all his money. If you know the story of Achilles in the Trojan War, you know that his heel was the only place on his otherwise invincible body where he could be harmed, and when he is hit with the arrow in his heel, he dies. So you would understand that an Achilles heel means a weakness that can lead to a person's downfall. Be on the lookout for allusions. They can be really fun, and if you understand them, they can be very meaningful and persuasive. Next, another common rhetorical device is repetition. That is when a person repeats a word or phrase several times to make an idea clearer or for emphasis. For example, in the Gettysburg Address, when President Lincoln emphasizes that we have a government and that government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from the earth, his repetition of the people emphasizes that it is our government, created for us. This instills a sense of purpose in those listening to not let the government fall apart and to continue fighting to keep it together. Think about it. When something is repeated again and again, we remember it, don't we? Another common technique is parallel structure or parallelism, and that is when a person uses words or phrases that are not identical but have the same grammatical structure. Here are 2 examples. First, we were told to either reduce the staff or find new customers. This is parallel because we have either followed by an active verb and a noun, and then or followed by another active verb and another noun. Same structure, different words. Another example is Agnes was neither going to classes nor doing her assignments. Here we have neither followed by the present participle form of the verb, it ends in ing, followed by a noun, going to classes, and then nor followed by the present participle form of another verb and a different noun, doing her assignments. Again, different words, but same structure. Parallel structure is particularly effective. It's one of the mysteries of our minds that we tend to remember language that is parallel in construction, but we do. The next 3 strategies are often referred to as the communication or rhetorical triangle. I'm talking about ethos, logos, and pathos. Ethos refers to the credibility of the writer or speaker. Logos refers to the logical reasoning the writer or speaker might use. And lastly, pathos refers to language that has an emotional impact. These strategies date way back. Over 2,000 years ago, the Greek philosopher Aristotle argued that there were three basic ways to persuade an audience to your position: egos, logos, and pathos. These strategies are so powerful they still work today. Let's examine each one. First, we have ethos. In order for this strategy to be effective, the reader or listener has to believe that the person delivering the message is credible. That person is trusted, liked, and knowledgeable. A reader or listener will ask himself, "Are you believable? Do you have my best interest in mind or just your own?" If he believes it's true, he'll be swayed by this strategy. We see ethos everywhere. Here are some examples. As a doctor, I am qualified to tell you that this course of treatment will generate the best results. Or, he's a forensics and ballistics expert for the federal government. If anyone's qualified to determine the murder weapon, it's him. Or, if my age doesn't convince you that my opinion matters, at least consider that I am your grandfather and I love you dearly. Sound familiar? Next, we have the strategy of logos. We will be persuaded by this strategy if we believe that the message is logical and well presented, that it makes sense, that it has facts or evidence for support. A reader or listener will ask himself, "Is this a logical argument? Do you have evidence? Are you telling the truth?" If he believes this is true, he will be swayed by this strategy. Here are some examples. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we have not only the fingerprints, the lack of an alibi, a clear motive, and an express desire to commit the robbery, we also have video of the suspect breaking in. The case could not be more open and shut. Or, research compiled by analysts from NASA as well as organizations from 5 other nations with space programs suggests that a moon colony is viable with international support. Recognize this strategy? Last, we have what most people consider the most effective of the 3 strategies: pathos. For pathos to be effective, the message touches the emotions. It tugs at the heartstrings with a story or an image, or it creates anger or fear. A reader or listener will react to this type of argument because they will think, "This makes me sad or upset. This makes me angry. This frightens me. I need to take action." If this is how he reacts, he will be swayed by this strategy. Let's look at some examples. Don't be the last person at school to buy a school shirt. You don't want to be made fun of. Or, you should consider another route. I heard that that street is far more dangerous at night than during the daytime. Or, they've worked against everything we've worked so hard to build, and they don't care who gets hurt in the process. Make no mistake, they're the enemy and they won't stop until we are all destroyed. Sound familiar? Pathos is everywhere. One final point about these 3 strategies. They are often combined, and the best arguments are those that combine 2 or even all 3. In other words, we believe that the writer or speaker is credible or trustworthy, and we think it's a logical argument that is supported by facts, and it creates an emotional response in us that makes us want to act. Let's review the information in this presentation. Rhetoric is a technique of using language effectively and persuasively in spoken or written form. Some common types of rhetorical or persuasive devices that writers and speakers use are rhetorical questions, allusions, repetition, parallel structure, ethos, logos, pathos. Now you are ready. If your teacher asks you to identify some of the rhetorical devices in a work and explain why they are effective, you can do it. Or if your teacher asks you to use some of these devices in your own work, you can do that too. Good luck.